You want to know what time it is? It's time to bring the rain.
Zinc Media. Feel the power of knowledge.
Good morning, my fellow Americans and all of you wonderful ecclesiastites. I got to say, somebody did not want me on the air this morning. Two of my computers at the exact same time literally crashed and turned themselves off. I kid you not. I'm sitting here listening to the commercial part of the opening of the program this morning, and then all of a sudden there's silence, and I look up at my computers. Two of the screens are dark. Computers were off. Now the weird thing about it is only one of the computers is actually connected to the broadcast. The other computer is not, but it is loaded and capable of broadcasting should it need to. Yesterday I also found in my computer I did a viral scan. My virus scanner, antiviral and malware scanner, and you get all that stupid adware stuff on there. I had nearly 600 items. Now I do a scan at least once a week, sometimes twice a week. And the scan that I just recently did was last Friday. Nearly 600 items had to be removed. I don't know what website I went to that loaded this stuff up, but it was just incredible. I had never seen anything like this before in my life on my computers, which is really starting to make me wonder, am I really ticking some people off out there? Who knows? If my bank accounts get emptied into zero, then I'll know that somebody really is out there trying to get me. But in any case, right now I'm still here, and it is Tuesday morning, February the 2nd, in the year of our Lord 2016, as I broadcast live from my bunkerized home studio somewhere within the great granite state of New Hampshire, where the state motto is still live free or die. It is not big government or bust. And I know everybody wants to talk about the good old caucus last night. So the call-in number is 603-835-3224. Now I got to ask, the polls on the Republican side got it kind of right. They said it was, the latest poll said it was going to be Cruz, Trump, Rubio. And that's how it played out. Well, they were actually kind of right on the Democrat side too, because they said it was nearly a dead heat between Clinton and Sanders. Now, I got to tell you, if Sanders wins New Hampshire, which the polls are saying that he will, a week from today, next Tuesday, and yeah, I have to make up my mind who I'm going to support. If Sanders wins New Hampshire, then you can better believe that Clinton is going to be the one behind the 8 ball. Now, I got all kinds of stuff here today for you. I mean, we got some, of course, we got 3 short hours, so we'll get in as much as we possibly can squeeze in these 3 short hours. But, we got some global warming stuff for you. Yeah, we got some national finance stuff for you. Some surprises out there. You got some. You won't believe what the treaty is going to cost for this global warming thing. Global warming treaty. Oh, by the way, I do believe Puxatawny Phil saw his February 2nd Groundhog Day. Puxatawny Phil saw his shadow, so that means an early spring, and that's going to flip out the all the global warming nuts. Because they're already kind of flittering around New England area, because New England is unseasonably warm for this time of year. We've gotten very little snow. Now, the problem with having very little snow is the very fact that we'll probably wind up in a drought situation come spring. Now, why do I say that? Because we've got communities around here, especially in Massachusetts, that live off of a drought. Now, what do you mean? What do I mean by living off a drought? In the middle of flooding, but we get all this rain, and then in the middle of flooding, they still have drought restrictions in place. Why? Because they say we need to conserve all this water now because it could be gone tomorrow. One town said that. The reason why they would not lift the drought restrictions, watering your lawn, you can't water your lawn, you can only use so much, wash your car a certain way. The towns around them were flooding, including parts of their own town were flooding, and people were scratching their heads. How can we still be in a drought if we're flooding? And we got more rain on the way. We've had all this rain in the past month. There is the water table's full. It's high. It's overflowing. How are we in a drought? And one of the town fathers who was responsible for, the committees that look at this drought stuff, said that we need to conserve the water, and the only way that we can conserve the water is by keeping the town in a drought status. Needless to say, the people, even in liberal Massachusetts, they pretty much ignored it. And they dared the town to try to find them and find them, because they would take the town to court over lying about this kind of stuff. So, it does happen where people are do stuff like that. Let's take a call. 786. You're live on the Rod Eccles Show.
Hey, how's it going, man?
Good morning.
Good morning. Hey, I just wanted to say that, I'm definitely supporting Donald Trump. He's the only real patriot that's running for...
No. I'm not going to let you get away with that one. He is not.
Oh, okay.
He's not the only patriot.
Look, the other day, he took a huge risk by denying the Fox News debate, raised $6 million for our veterans. The man's not even the president yet, and he's already done more for veterans than Obama's done his entire term. Who can you even compare?
That is true. But now look, you can't say he's the only patriot in the race. We've got at least 10 candidates still in the race on the Republican side.
But those are non-viable candidates you're talking about here.
Well, Cruz just won big. How is he non-viable?
Yeah, no, Cruz did not win big. Cruz committed fraud. He went and he told Carson supporters that Carson was dropping out. That's where
I heard that, but let me tell you something.
Not only that, but
Carson was not.
Was expecting to lose Iowa.
Hold on. Carson was not going to even be a significant part. So even if Cruz took away all of Carson's support... And not only that,
but Cruz, he is not a patriot. Cruz is an open borders. This guy, he's not a patriot in the slightest.
How would you say he's an open borders?
He's not an American. He wasn't even born here. He's a Canadian.
Well, he was born in Canada.
A Canadian is an American patriot? That makes no sense.
He was born... Well, McCain was born in Panama. Does that make him not a patriot?
Yeah, but McCain was born on a military base.
So he was not born in the USA.
That's not the point. He was born on American soil, a military base. Okay,
so in order for you to be a patriot, you have to be born on American soil.
In order for you to even be eligible to run for president, yes, you do. However, the fact that Cruz
so all of the
borders,
constitutional scholars who say
the fact that he supports amnesty for illegal immigrants.
Hold on. One issue at a time. Now, first of all, on the issue of his birth certificate, what you're saying is all the constitutional scholars, including Mark Levin, who's a very smart constitutional lawyer, who says that the Constitution clearly states that his mother was born in the USA and is a natural-born citizen, thereby conferring citizenship on Cruz. That they're all wrong. You're right, and the constitutional scholars are wrong.
His mother did not fill out the American citizen born abroad form. It's that simple. She didn't follow the correct.
So now in order for you to be a citizen, your parents have to fill out paperwork. Where is that in the Constitution?
In order for you to be a citizen, look.
You have to fill out paperwork.
You need to be a natural
You have to fill out paperwork.
All right, that means that you're born on
so
American
where
soil.
is that in the No.
He was
Hold
not
on.
born
Time
on
out.
American soil.
Hold on. Time out. What you don't get to get away with on this show is platitude crap like that. Now answer my question, or you can go away.
I'm simple because you're overwhelmed. You can't deal with the fact
No,
that
I'm not overwhelmed. You are. This is typical of you people. I don't care if you're left or right. You think that you can talk over people. By the way, you think you can talk over people and try to get your point across. What I'm telling you is, you know what? We can't have a conversation. Bye. Look, when you call here, you don't get to do that. I don't know what show you think this is, but it's not that kind of a show. I'm going to ask you a question, and then if you're calling, you're the caller, you're going to answer it. You're not going to go off on 5,000 different topics while we're trying to deal with one at a time. There's nothing that tees me off with people who get mouth. You know when people do that? It means they have no argument. He couldn't even answer my question. So the question is very simple. Where in the Constitution does it say you have to fill out paperwork in order to be a citizen? Where? It doesn't say that. So right now we've got all of these constitutional scholars that have said Cruz and unfortunately Obama are citizens of the USA, natural-born citizens. Thereby, they're able to run. So I don't care if you're a Trumpite or not. Get over it. Cruz is eligible to run. If you're going to support Trump, let me tell you something. You better have more than what that gentleman just had to support him, because this is getting serious now. The votes are going to start to be tallied, and people are not going to go for this kind of crap and platitudes. Look what they're doing over there on the Democratic side. Hillary Clinton, the supposed, wonderkin woman, is supposed to win it all, and she can't even dispatch Bernie in Iowa. And he's not going away. I mean, this notion that Trump is the only patriot, just simply because he raised $5 million. Yeah, $5 million, not $6 million, because $1 million of it was his own money. Simply because he raised $5 million for vets. That does not a patriot make. Now, don't get me wrong, I like Trump. Don't get me wrong, but this is exactly why this country is in the shape that it's in. And I got stories here to back me up on this. We got a bunch of nut jobs running around here on both sides of the political aisle. I'm sorry, but nut jobs. I mean, we're acting like these candidates are the end-all, be-all, and the greatest people on the planet since Nero. Stop inferring celebrityism to these candidates. They're human beings. They're not perfect. And frankly, Donald, if you want to talk about open borders for Ted Cruz, Donald Trump has got a lot of splaining to do when it comes to that kind of stuff because he hasn't always been about build this wall, build this wall. I mean, look, I've been asking people, well, what do you say about Donald Trump who said this past weekend that universal health care was a good idea, basically? Is that a patriot who says government should take over health care? I know what Cruz has said and done about open borders and amnesty. I also know what he tried to do. And we've got people on the right who don't like Cruz, don't like him, can't stand him at all, have explained that he was never for amnesty, that the thing that he did was introduce a poison pill that made sure that the bill would never be passed. And indeed, it wasn't. It wasn't. 336, you're live on the Rod Eccles Show.
Okay, Rod. Good morning, brother.
Good morning.
The sun come up today just like it has in the past, 100,000 years, whatever. And this campaign deal with Trump is going to go forward. Hey, I'm not looking at this as a loss last night. I'm looking at it as just bringing out some things that everybody needs to be aware of that supports Trump.
He was a strong second place showing. I mean, what, Cruz had 28% and Trump had 24%? That's not a lot of difference.
I appreciate that, Rod, because that's the facts. I mean, Trump was not supposed to even be in this thing, period. I mean, according to all the mainstream media early on, he should be at home watching this stuff on a 100-foot television, whatever. But he stayed strong, and he was very gracious in his remarks after this thing was over last night. And I'm not here to bash anybody, except I want to explain how Trump will win the nomination and not talk about, dirty dealings or whatever. Everybody can have an open mind to that. What I do want to talk about, though, if it's okay, I want to talk about mainstream media pushing candidates over the top. Such as Rubio, this thing with Fox News and pushing Rubio, I don't like it. I just think that's the wrong way for America to see our politicians. If you can't give everybody equal time, then to me that's like social.
Well, there is a story about Rubio being in third place, right behind Trump, a point behind Trump, as the establishment candidate that did good. Now, last time I checked, I thought Rubio was an outsider. Now he's an establishment candidate?
Well, I consider Rubio an establishment candidate because of immigration. To me, a lot of folks that are out there supporting Trump, we want the illegal immigration situation taken care of and quick. And I see these guys that are already in the Senate. I see them dragging this stuff on and on and on. It's, 8 years now, and nobody has done a damn thing one way or the other except Obama pushing forward his agenda. And I want to talk about why I don't think Cruz and why I don't think Rubio could win a general election, if I might. They are the two closest candidates to Trump. And I want to talk about why Trump can win the nomination and why these two other guys cannot win it. And if you give me the opportunity to do that, I want to do that right now.
Okay, go right ahead.
I think Trump will bring more crossover votes from the Democrats, from independents. I think he can win over independents a lot quicker than Cruz or Rubio. I see Cruz as having a real strong evangelical base, and that's great. But like I've said before, if you go from here to California, you're going to find a lot of different religions. You're going to find a lot of different people, atheists, whoever. You're going to find different folks that will vote for Trump that will absolutely not vote for Cruz. And as far as Rubio is very young. I can't really see where he's accomplished anything in the Senate that is remarkable. He's very weak on immigration as far as really getting a strong foot out there. The Gang of Eight, I mean, that's going to hang over his head throughout the whole campaign if he were to even get to the nomination process. I don't think it will hold up. And I do think it was a great night for Trump last night. What Trump proved is the fact that he can garner votes from the evangelicals. And I hesitate to even call folks evangelicals. I think they believe in God, and I think the amount of time they spend in church might determine if they're called evangelical. And to me, that shouldn't be the point. It should be the fact that Trump is not saying that he's a preacher. He's not quoting Scripture every day. He's just saying, and I know I've talked about this before, he's just saying, hey, I can believe in God, but I don't have to push that agenda, and I don't have to tell you who you should believe and what you should believe. And that's the only way, Rod, that we're going to win a national election against the Democrats, against a communist Bernie Sanders and a criminal Hillary Clinton. It is going to take Trump to get the crossover vote to push the election into the Republican category for the first time in years. And we need that. We don't need Cruz as our nominee going out and pandering toward the religious section of the country.
Well, you know, he only does that in the Bible Belt. I mean, when he comes to New Hampshire, he doesn't quote scripture all the time. When he goes to other states that aren't within the Bible Belt, I mean, you could call it pandering, but he's talking to the people in the area that is his support the way they want to be talked to.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Now, this is kind of a personal question. You're a black man. When you are around white people, do you act different than you do around your black friends?
Oh, most of the time, no. There are times, however, when you get within a group of people that you sort of mold yourself to the way that group is, if they're very different from your normal persona.
Okay,
I think it's a natural defensive mechanism.
No, let me put it this way. Okay, you say you do mold yourself in order to form your relationships with your black friends or
Not to
your
mold
white
them,
friends,
no.
right?
No, if I'm for instance, if I am back in my family homestead of Buffalo, New York, and I'm with family members, cousins, and all of a sudden we're with people I don't know, other blacks, I do try to blend in a little bit more and try not to stand out because it's a defensive mechanism. Now, I don't try to use the vernacular exactly the way they do, and I don't use big words like vernacular. But at the same time, I do sort of change my vocal cadence, and I do make sure that I'm using, for the lack of a better word, more simplified language that they would use. I'm very cognizant of it. Simply because, as a defensive mechanism, when you're in that type of situation, you don't want to stand out.
Okay. Now, to me, that's a fault in a person. I talk the same way around my black friends as I do my white friends. And I'm going to tell you why I do that. It's because whenever I have those two groups together around me, I'm not pandering to either group. And that's Donald Trump in a nutshell, Rod. He's not going to pander to a certain group of Americans. When he becomes the nominee, it's going to be open conversation with everybody. It's not going to be, oh, you're not religious enough for me. I'm going to wait to take care of your needs on down the road. He's a solid guy. He's built a business that's incredible and hired thousands and thousands of people. Cruz hasn't done that. Rubio hasn't done that. As a matter of fact, Rubio used his charge card for his political needs. He used them for some of his personal needs. And as far as Cruz goes, I cannot tell you one single.
Can you hold on? We got to take a break here. Hold on. We'll come right back after the break, and I'll let you finish. We'll be right back.
Your credit score is a joke, and you're too embarrassed to let anyone know your 3-digit score. Sucks to be you, but it doesn't have to. Delete all those unsightly derogatory items, collections, charge-offs, repossessions, judgments, tax liens, bankruptcies, and foreclosures. To turbo boost your credit scores, call 888-541-5571 or visit us at 700creditnow.com. You've heard the old adage, cash is king, but in some cases, credit can be just as powerful as cash. Not many people have $200,000 to put down on a house, or $50,000 to put down on a car, or $25,000 to put down in a business. But look around and you'll find that millions of Americans do have homes and cars all purchased with little to no money down. To turbo boost your credit scores, call 888-541-5571. Again, that's 888-541-5571. Or visit us at www.700creditnow.com.
When you're ready to take the edge off a hectic day, I suggest you start with a little music from Franz Black.
I guess there's lots of ways to look at things that don't seem right.
No Worries has just been released on iTunes and Amazon.
It's gonna be alright.
You can find Franz Black and his music on his website, franzblack.com. Franz black.com.
It's gonna be alright.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. And then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-616-8010. That's 1-800-616-8010. Again, 1-800-616-8010. Call now.
Did you ever look at the stains in your coffee cup and then realize that's exactly what happens to your teeth? Power Swabs is the 5-minute solution to get your teeth white without visiting the dentist. This is Ben Gordon with Power Swabs, and if your teeth are stained from coffee, tea, or smoking, all it takes is 5 minutes with Power Swabs. In 5 minutes, you'll see an average of 2 shades whiter teeth, and in 7 days, 6 shades. It's clinically proven to whiten natural teeth as well as caps and veneers. The secret is a tooth detergent that was developed by Dr. Martin Ginniger that lifts stains off of your teeth. Best of all, there's no messy strips or trays that you have to leave in your mouth for an hour. Just swab your teeth for 5 minutes and you're done. To try Power Swabs risk-free, call 1-800-291-5140. That's 1-800-291-5140. I guarantee your bright white smile will have your friends talking about how great you look. Try it risk-free today. 1-800-291-5140. That's 1-800-291-5140.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 800-595-2614 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 595-2614 to take your call now. Call 800-595-2614. That's 800-595-2614. Again, 800-595-2614.
And we are back. 603-835-3224 is the number to call should you wish to join me here on the Rod Eccles Show. Right now, I know it's on everybody's tongue. We're talking about the Iowa caucus last night and the results. And we're still on the phone here and explaining how, well, the last thing you left off with was the Rubio credit card scandal. Now I'm going to have to really be honest here about this, as I'm always honest, but it doesn't seem like that credit card scandal was a big deal. Remember, look, we've got Hillary who's still leading over on the Democratic side, and everybody knows that she's a liar. I mean, even some of her supporters have said, yeah, so what? She lied. Yeah, so what? Rubio used a credit card. It was only about $20,000. No big deal. He paid it back. Remember, this is not the same type of America that it was back in the 80s. Remember the house banking scandal and the house postage scandal? Do you remember those?
Yes.
Yeah, and you remember how many people, how many congressmen, both in the Republican Party and on the Democratic side, lost their seats. And many of them lost in the primaries because people were incensed by that.
Okay, the reason I brought up the Rubio credit card issue is not for the fact that it was such a huge deal as far as running for office or whatever. But the reason I brought that up is because Rubio, to be a sitting senator, to be in that type of financial predicament where he needed to borrow $20,000, to me, that's the problem.
You may have something, considering that the vast majority of people who go to Washington, D.C. after they're elected in the House or the Senate, if they do not come away wealthy, then there might be something wrong with them. I know it sounds kind of funny, and I'm being slightly facetious, but there is some truth to that. Our own Senator Kelly Ayotte, she's now worth nearly over $2 million. She went there with a net worth less than $500,000 on a salary of what, $175,000, $180,000 a year. How do you gain that type of wealth? Well, Rubio obviously didn't do that, so he had to use a credit card, a party credit card, in order to pay some of his bills. That's not supposed to happen.
It's not about the fact that he borrowed the $20,000 and he paid it back. It's the fact of money management to begin with. How do you become a sitting senator and you're in that much debt? That's the problem with the country right now. We're buying things and spending money on programs that are wasteful. And that is the same situation with Rubio. I mean, learn how to handle your bank book first before you become the nominee for the Republican Party. And
well, to be fair, now Trump has his own financial baggage. You know, he's in the last, 15, 20 years, he's had 4 companies that he's been primary on file for corporate bankruptcy. Now, I understand how the bankruptcy laws work and how businesses often use bankruptcy to force renegotiation of debts and loans. But the vast majority of the public doesn't understand that. What they see is Trump went bankrupt 4 times.
Well, let me counter that for you. How many people did Rubio have working for him at the time he borrowed the $20,000?
Well, I don't. Far less than Trump, yes.
Okay, he had no responsibilities other than himself and his family. Trump had the responsibility of thousands of employees. And do you hold on to losing companies or losing motels or casinos? Do you hold on to those just to say, oh, look, I have these, let's keep these, and let's just keep on pouring money in them? Or do you make a damn smart business decision and say, hey, let's do Chapter 11 or whatever we need to do to these things so I can keep paying my employees the kind of salaries that they deserve, especially women that are making more working for Donald Trump than any of these politicians that have women working for them. And I just see a big crossover vote for Trump in the future, Rod. And I'm not here. And I want to tell you one thing, brother. I appreciate you being so honest with me about the way you feel about things too. It's just not us, and it's just not Trump. We want to hear everybody, and you give us a chance to speak forward about who we love and what we want to see the future like. And I do appreciate that so much. I want you to know that this morning.
Thank you. Now, What's going to end up happening here, and this is how I foresee it. The establishment, the GOP, they finally got their candidate. I think it's going to be a three-legged race for a while. I think it's going to be Cruz, Rubio, and Trump. Obviously not necessarily in that order. But it's going to be the three of them. I think eventually, by the end of the month, I think I'm going to predict that you're going to see all but possibly the top 5 drop out of the race.
I think you're right about that.
But what we're gonna have is those three. So, I mean, for the rest of you people who like the other candidates, you're gonna have to work to get your candidate into the other 2 spots, because really we can't keep going with such a large field. It's got to narrow down, and you're gonna O'Malley dropped out, and we had Huckabee dropped out last night. I guess there's rumors this morning that Santorum is going to call it quits. I haven't heard anything yet, but I think he's probably the next to go. There's others. Kasich is putting all his bets in New Hampshire. I don't know if he'll make it. I'm not exactly sure who the other 2 are going to be at this particular point. I don't think it's going to be Jeb, although they're going to try to bring Jeb up, but Jeb is just going to siphon votes off of Rubio. So Jeb might have to go. But when it comes to the top 3, now we've got an old white guy. Let's face it, that's what people call him. He's an old white guy, and we've got 2 traitor Latinos. And I say traitor Latinos.
Wait a minute! I got to stop you a minute. You criticized me about a week ago for calling Bernie Sanders an old white guy.
No, I didn't. No, he's an old curmudgeon. He's an old Uncle curmudgeon. But this is what people are saying. We have an old white guy, because, Republican Party is made up of nothing but old white men. So there's our traditional old white guy in Donald Trump. And we've got 2 traitor Latinos, because Latinos are supposed to be, Democrats and liberal and all this kind of stuff. Now, obviously, you have Rubio, who's been accused, rightfully so, of wanting something akin to open borders. And you have Cruz, who has confused the hell out of people about his border stance. And he's tried to solidify it by saying, no, he's not for open borders. As a matter of fact, he said it more than once, that if he's elected president, he would hire Donald Trump to build the wall. That doesn't sound like an open borders kind of guy to me.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, Cruz has held on to Trump's pant leg until Iowa. He had a good plan for Iowa. I'll give him credit for that. He had a good ground game, but he has held on to Trump's britches leg through this whole thing and followed his lead. Now, I didn't see anybody else become Cruz's clean-on guy except for Trump. So what that tells me is Trump leads the way, and Cruz hangs on and follows and tries to find small breaks here and there. I want a leader. I want Trump. I want somebody that sets the groundwork for new things, for new ideas. And I don't know, man. I'm passionate about Trump, and I'll be calling your show often because I'm not going to let up on my guy. And I want the debate back and forth, and I just think it's honest, it's clear, and it's a good thing for the country.
Well, I've got a week to make my decision, and I want people to know, honestly, I am still undecided, which is why I'm pretty harsh on people on who they support, because I haven't made up my mind yet, and I want them to convince me that their candidate is the best candidate. And quite frankly, the first caller this morning did not do a good job of convincing me that Trump was the guy. You did a much better job, but the first guy.
A lot of times Go ahead. I'm sorry.
The first caller. I'm sorry. He failed miserably at convincing anybody in my book that Trump. If they're supporting somebody else or their candidate dropped out or is about to drop out, he didn't convince anybody to move over to the Trump camp.
Well, I joke about Cruz being Canadian. That's a joke, but I'm not going to go through this campaign supporting Trump and using that for an excuse against Cruz. That didn't work against Obama. What makes anybody think that's going to work against Cruz in the nomination? We need to stick to topics. We need to stick to things like building our economy back up to where it needs to be. And I want to hear it from a businessman. I don't want to hear it from a political hack. I don't want to hear it from a lawyer. I don't want to hear it from a politician. Now, Trump is learning to become more of a politician as this goes on, and that's just the natural ebb and flow of the campaign. But I'm depending on Trump to build us up economically. And to me, that's my pitch to you, Rod. I want to see somebody take control of this country and get this economy back on track, get this deficit down, and do the things we need to do to be a strong country, and have our military in place to where when the grandkids and in the future grow up, they have a safe place to live in, and not a situation like you see in the Middle East. And that's my prayer, and I think Trump can do that. And I will call every chance I get to you, Rod, and try to convince you of that. And we will talk about different subjects, and we will break it out in the open and get this stuff done.
All right. I appreciate that. I look forward to that. Thank you for
and
the call,
Rod,
my friend.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Look, folks, I'm still pretty open. I'm very open because I got to tell you, when I start leaning towards a candidate, I'll admit it, I'll hear something negative about that candidate, and it makes me think twice. And then I'll lean towards another candidate, and I'll hear something negative about him. Now, it's not that the negative is what is keeping me from embracing that particular candidate, because I go and do my homework. And then I find out, well, there's some merit to this argument. It's not good. Now, I know, that there's going to be a lot of people who are turned off by the evangelical side of Cruz. Again, you talk to people the way they like to be talked to. I mean, you still tell them the same thing, but you use their words. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't. You could be a businessman, politician. Now, Trump goes out there and he says the same thing in exactly the same way. It's because everybody knows who Trump is. Everybody knows. I mean, Trump, one of the biggest brand names in the world. Everybody. It's kind of like Apple. Everybody knows who he is. He can't be somebody different. He can't talk to people in their own vernacular. He can't use their words because everybody knows who he is. Now, Cruz, on the other hand, is still capable of being a chameleon without coming off as being phony. It's a fine line to walk on that. It really is. Especially when you're talking about being a very strong Christian. With it. Now, we have to remember, Cruz's daddy is a minister. So it's a very fine line. Cruz can't walk into San Francisco or New York City and act like he's a Southern Bible Belt, Bible-thumping, Christian. It's not going to play well. So he may have to eliminate that type of talk in his conversations in the Northeast and on the left coast. But when he's in the Bible Belt district and in the heartland, he can be free to use that type of again, the big word, vernacular, and people understand him. Now, sure, he could use that type of speech in the Northeast and on the left coast, but you know what? Nobody would understand him. Now, Donald Trump doesn't come off as an evangelical, so he's free to not have to change his words when he goes to the Bible Belt because, like I said, everybody knows Donald Trump, so he's free to keep the same language that he's used in the Northeast and the left coast. He's free to use that in Iowa and Kentucky and all that, and those kind of places where Cruz cannot. He can't use the Bible Belt language in New York and in New England or in Florida or in Washington State, Oregon, or California. He can't use it there because they won't understand him. Not that they may not agree with him on certain things when it comes to Christianity, but they won't understand him. So he has to change how he gets his message across. His message is still the same, whether he's in Iowa, New York, California, New Hampshire. His message is the same. How he emotes that message changes. Now, Donald Trump is such a centrist on that. You know how people say you have a neutral accent. That like TV anchors, news anchors, they all tend to, most of them, national TV anchors tend to have a very neutral accent. It's very difficult to tell exactly what part of the country they come from. I mean, the person that probably had the largest accent that on occasion you could tell that he was Canadian was, oh my goodness, now his name just escaped me. But when his about. When he said about. He recently passed away of cancer. But anyway, you have most of your news people who have what they call a neutral accent. It's very difficult to tell where they're from. Now, Donald Trump may not have a neutral accent, but he's got a neutral vocabulary. In other words, people everywhere can understand what he's saying, and he doesn't need to change his vernacular. And look, I'm not making excuses for Cruz, but everybody does this. If you have a wherewithal, and you do not have a neutral core, and if you want to communicate with somebody, you're going to have to communicate on their level. You can't communicate on a level that they're not going to understand you, because you won't get your message across. And you won't be successful at convincing them of anything, whether it be politics, business, what have you. Now, you could say that I have a very neutral vocabulary. I don't. So when I'm in places, urban centers like visiting family like Buffalo, New York, my vocabulary and cadence of the vocabulary has to change so those people understand me. Now, I hate to say it, but, look, I am part black, and we understand the lack of education in the urban inner city. And a lot of these people, unfortunately, are not going to be able to understand or relate if I were to talk like I come from the Northeast. Instead of using the word cool, at one point, I might use the word, let's go back in time. Instead of using the word cool, if this is 1970s, 80s or so, instead of using the word cool, I might use the word funky. Now I'm saying the same thing. I'm just using a word that they understand. Because they might look at me with two heads. Cool. What the hell are you talking about, cool? What the hell's cool? But if you say funky, they get it. Everybody has their own language and terminology, and a good communicator will communicate in a way that the vast majority, the most amount of people can understand them. That's a good communicator. Ronald Reagan proved that, you speak in the language of the people. He communicated in a way where the vast majority of Americans could understand him. I mean, you get people like Henry Kissinger. People don't know who Henry Kissinger is. I know the younger generation doesn't. But people back in the 70s, they didn't understand Henry Kissinger because Henry Kissinger sounded like he was an Ivy League PhD. That's how he talked. I knew his accent was a problem, but he sounded like he was an Ivy League PhD. That's how he communicated. And the average American didn't communicate that way. They couldn't understand him. Not because of his accent, but because of how he spoke. That's even today when they interview Kissinger. A lot of people will look at him and say, what did he say? And you can even see it on the faces of some of the reporters that are interviewing. They don't understand a word he's saying, not because of his accent, but because of how he communicates. He's not communicating on that reporter's level. And if people do not understand you, they're not going to trust you. So you could say that Cruz, he may be a chameleon in that sort of a sense, but he's following the time-tested standard of communicating in the way that people want to be communicated to, that they can understand. And there are certain personalities, they definitely have a very strong Again, Cruz is from, he's from Texas, the South. He's very evangelical. And people who are not Southern evangelical are not going to understand his Southern evangelical vernacular. They're not. So he's got to change it so people understand him. Because if they can't understand him, they're not going to trust him. If they're not going to trust him, they're not going to vote for him. Now, as far as what's going on with on the other side, let me just say one more thing about the Republican side of the caucus. Look, folks, I understand that once every 4 years, people get very, very emotional. Now, you get people that get obsessed with a particular person. I'm never obsessed with anybody. I try to look at a candidate's record. Now, the problem in this particular case is all the major candidates, they have records that have very big question marks on them. In other words, none of the candidates are perfect. So the very notion that you might use this notion that they're the only candidate that can do this and the only either you're lying or you don't understand who your person that you're supporting truly is. Because none of them are the only one. None of them. Yeah, some of the candidates are better in certain areas than others, and then when it comes to other things, they're better in certain areas. I mean, let's face it. Everybody knows Trump is not a constitutional conservative. He's not. You can try to argue that he is not. Trump doesn't even call himself a constitutional conservative. You cannot be a constitutional conservative and then go out last weekend and talk about universal health care as possibly being a good thing. Great. He wants to close the borders. I understand that. Most of the candidates say that. But that doesn't make him a constitutional conservative. One issue does not. Do we have many constitutional conservatives in the race? I think there's only two. That's Rand Paul and Ted Cruz. Are they the best for the job? I don't know. I guess we'll have to find out. Wait and see.
Give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Sign him up for the Box of Bait Club and he'll never be hungry again. The Box of Bait Club is a brand new dream come true for every fisherman. Something new and different in your tackle box every month. Every month, another excuse to get outside and do what you love. Don't let this one get away. The Box of Bait Club is currently accepting a limited number of pre-orders with subscriptions starting at $39.95 per month. Find out more now. Log on to boxofbaitclub.com.
I'm just so happy my father had a chance to see his kids before he passed. I just want to say thank you.
When her father fell ill, the American Red Cross was able to help get Veronica's brother home from the Navy to speak to his father one last time. It's thanks to your donations that we can connect military families when they need it most. Please donate today at redcross.org.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. And then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washing washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-616-8010. That's 1-800-616-8010. Again, 1-800-616-8010. Call now.
Are you tired of commuting to a job that makes someone else rich? Working harder than ever, but getting nowhere? Do you hate spending hundreds of dollars every week on daycare? Having someone else raise your children? With our opportunities, you can start earning money as soon as next week. You get to be the boss, work from home, and live a happier life. At Be the Boss Network, you'll find hundreds of work-from-home opportunities that you can literally start today and be earning money as soon as next week. Go to freedom133.com and start earning money as soon as next week. You get to be the boss. Get out of the rat race. Work from home. Go to freedom133.com right now and change your life today. That's freedom133.com. Go to freedom133.com and start earning money as soon as next week. You be the boss. Go to freedom133.com.
Attention business owners. We know that owning a business means getting things done right now. So if your right now list includes a new building, call the Right Now Company. General Steel. We can design a building for your business quickly and save you thousands of dollars. That's right, thousands. You may think General Steel only builds large projects or that you can't afford General Steel quality. Well, check these prices. How about a 40 by 60 foot building for under $22,000? Or even a 50 by 100 for under $35,000? That's right, a 5,000 square foot building for under $35,000. And these buildings all have General Steel quality. Best of all, you can still order a building and have it delivered in time to build this year. How's that for right now? So if your right now list includes a new building, call the Right Now Company, General Steel.
800-393-5756. 800-393-5756. 800-393-5756. That's 800-393-5756.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 800-595-2614 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 595-2614 to take your call now. Call 800-595-2614. That's 800-595-2614. Again, 800-595-2614.
Boy, man, I had a rough night's sleep. Boy, I got a letter from the IRS yesterday, and I just couldn't sleep. Man, I'm dying here. Somebody help me.
IRS problems affect more than just your finances. If you're ready to take back control of your life and you owe more than $10,000, you need to call the Tax Doctor. Their expert staff can immediately protect you from the IRS and state collectors and get you the best possible tax settlement guaranteed. The IRS has recently released new programs geared in helping struggling taxpayers, where you may qualify to settle your tax debt and wipe out up to 85% or more of what you currently owe. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes, call the Tax Doctor right now. See if you qualify to pay less. 800-989-1694. 800-989-1694. 800-989-1694. Again, 800-989-1694.
You want to know what time it is? It's time to bring the rain.
Zinc Media. Feel the power of knowledge.
Good morning. We are back. I am still your lovable host, L. Rod, coming to you live from my bunkerized home studio somewhere within the great granite state of New Hampshire, where the state motto is still live free or die. It is not big government or bust. The number that you can call in this morning is 603-835-3224. Again, that's 603-835-3224 here on this Tuesday morning. By the way, it is Tuesday in the year of our Lord, February the 2nd, year of our Lord 2016, which means it's Groundhog Day. So I know a lot of people are probably going to be out there watching the old Bill Murray movie called Groundhog Day. But I don't think we're going to be, some people might think that we're kind of repeating history, but we have different characters involved. You could say that, how do I say this without sounding pessimistic? Because there are going to be, look, people are starting to pay attention to this program and to who I am in particular. And the proof is that this is Tuesday. So Tuesday afternoons from 4 to 6 p.m., I am on a terrestrial radio station in Manchester, New Hampshire, a part of a group of very esteemed people in their various fields. We're talking financial, education, political, evangelical, and other areas. They're very esteemed in their various areas of their expertise, and it's called the Right Group, RIGHT. It's only fitting that they would ask me to be a part of them, seeing how I'm almost always right. So if they want to continue to be right, they got to have the person who's almost always right in their group. But between 4 and 6, and it is New Hampshire Family Radio, and it's 90.7 on your FM dial if you're in the Manchester area. Now, that has a growing audience as well. But you have to understand that people are paying attention to this program, as evidenced by the numbers that I've been getting for the month of January coming in from all the various networks that broadcast this program live, and a few of them rebroadcast it at a later time. I'm very pleased with the numbers. Am I satisfied with them? No. I'm very pleased with them. But it means that there are a lot of people that are tuning in. A lot of people are listening. Which means that there are other people that are taking notice. Now, I don't know if this is initiation, and I try not to be a conspiracy theorist, but I have to scratch. Now, I know one of my electronic devices has been having problems lately, and that's my cell phone. But when you add everything together, you kind of scratch in your head, because when it all comes down to one day, when you have 3 computers, a cell phone, and an iPad with you in your bunkerized home studio, 2 of those computers, they just crash and shut down. I've never had either one of them just turn off by themselves without a power failure. And you could say, well, there's a power failure, right? No, because one of them is a laptop, so it's battery. The other computer that did not turn off, which is not connected to anything right now, it's connected to the internet, but it's not being used at the moment. But it's on. It didn't shut down. The laptop turned off along with the desktop at the same time. Now, both of them were connected to certain parts of the internet at the same time, where the other older laptop was not. And then my phone says that the battery is dead. Now, I know Samsung Galaxies have an issue with batteries. There's some sort of glitch in there that causes them to, not the battery to go dead, but the mechanism that manages the battery power to go on the fritz. And mine's been having some troubles. But it has never gone from 40% to 5% then off and say there's no power. And not only that, but I couldn't plug it in to get it to power up, to charge. I had to take the battery out, set the battery aside for a few minutes, put it back in, and now it says, before I plug in the charger, it says it's at 20% charged. Well, it goes from 40 to 5 to nothing to 20. Even that, according to those who know the problems with Samsung, they're saying that is just not possible. To add to the mystery, my iPad, now this is Apple, was acting in such a manner, acting so slow, that I actually had to reboot it, turn it off and turn it back on. Now, I'm sorry, even though I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I gotta say, and all these devices are connected to various sites or pages or accounts that I have. So maybe somebody has gotten into one of the accounts that I have and is targeting me that way. I'm not saying I'm being targeted, but you got to ask, well, you see the numbers for the month of January. They're higher than they've ever been. And then all of a sudden the next day you get on the air and all but one of your computer devices, electronic devices, goes wacko. And I got to tell you, last night I had to, again, I did that search, or the sweep of my computer, nearly 600 malware items. Nearly 600. How does that happen? I have no idea how stuff like that. I'm not a techie, so I understand the basics of all this stuff, but I don't understand the nuances and how this stuff can actually, I don't understand at all how somebody can, I know people can do it, but I don't understand how somebody can get in backdoor in your stuff, even when you're not even, did you know that your cell phone is never truly off unless you take out the battery? Did you know that? You turn it off, but it's not off. Did you know that people can turn, when your phone is off, they can turn on your microphone and listen to your conversation? Did you know that? That's not conspiracy theory stuff. That's real world fact. The same with your computer. If you have one of those built-in cameras, most laptops have them. If you have a built-in camera on your laptop, and even though you don't have the program open or you don't have it on, that somebody can sneak into your computer and view you, watch you. This has already been proven. People have had, they say, I've never used the camera on my laptop, but yet and still, there's video of them on YouTube from their laptop. They don't know it. There was there was national attention that was given to some of these smart TVs not too long ago about them being able to record you watching the TV. And yet we tend to, as Americans, maybe it's not just Americans, but we tend to just sort of fall into this category of like, oh, well, I'm not doing anything. I mean, we always hear people say, well, if you're not doing anything wrong, what do you have to worry about? That's not the point. The point is you have people who think that they're above you, who want to watch you and dictate your every movement. Even in a free society, you're being manipulated daily. That's not conspiracy theory. That's just fact. You're being enticed to act in a certain manner daily. You think you have free will and free choice. Let me wake you up to something, my brothers and sisters of Americana. You don't. You now have a government that tells you that you got to have health insurance or they're going to come after you. Is that dictating how you live your daily life? Yes, it is. You've got a government, at least in this state, that tells you that you can't leave your keys in your car because it's called unattended motor vehicle, and it's a hefty fine if you're caught. So does that change how you operate your vehicle, how you warm it up in the winter, maybe where you park it. Yeah, that's gonna dictate a lot. Because if you've been caught and had to pay that fine, you don't want to pay it again, do you? No, you don't. Yes, there are certain things and some things that are good behavior modifications, such as speeding. You don't want to be doing 50 in a zone marked for 30 because that's not safe. So they put up a speed limit and say if you go above this speed limit, you're going to get heavily fined. That moderates most people's behavior to stay within a certain range of that 30 miles per hour. Now, of course, you get on the freeway. Now, I got to admit, last week, in between Concord and Manchester, on Interstate, the Everett Turnpike. I was on Route 93. 93. Last week. I'm looking down at my speedometer. Speed limit is 65. Admittedly, I'm doing 75. But I'm in the slow lane being passed by just about everybody. If I'm doing 75 and they're passing me with ease, they're doing well over 80. Speed limit 65. This is not Montana. So that behavior modification only goes so far, but you get pulled over and get a $250 ticket, you're not going to be speeding for a while. Behavior modification. Whenever a cop gets behind you, do you not change your behavior? Immediately. 99% of the population will immediately change their behavior, and they will become the model law-abiding driver the most law-abiding driver on the planet. And as soon as that cop gets from behind you, turns or passes you, whatever, there's a sense of relief and you go back to being yourself. Is there behavior modification? Yes. Why? There's a government agent behind you who can ruin your life. It's called fear and intimidation, and that's how governments have worked since the dawn of time. When they cannot get you to do what they want you to do by just simply asking you and telling you it's probably best for you, they will then come down on you with the power of the state by intimidation and fear. And in this particular case, in this country, like many countries, they'll use law enforcement to do that. They'll create and mandate all kinds of laws, rules, and regulations. And it gets to the point where there are so many that everybody in the population is unknowingly breaking some of them on a daily basis because there are so many. But they're all designed for behavior modification. Now, there are certain societal laws that are just what we call natural laws, like murder. You have a right to live. That's a natural law. It's not a man-made law. It's just that's a law of nature. It's a natural law. You have a right to your own possessions. Now, we think of possessions as something different, but it's not different. Man has always had the clothes in their back that they've made. Even if you want to go back to caveman days, man has always had his own possessions. Animals have their own possessions. It's a natural law that you do not want somebody else to take what you have that you've garnered and worked hard to get or make. It's a natural law. Jaywalking is not a natural law. It's a man-made law. And we have seen time and time again, in order to achieve that behavioral modification, that at times the government will come down heavy on the person who's jaywalking. Really? Why? Why would they do that? because they'll end up telling you, well, it's for your own good. How about the viral video that just went viral recently about the regular citizen capturing on film, basically, I do believe a Miami-Dade police officer speeding when there was no emergency, and then when he finally gets pulled over and answers to the woman, he said he was not an emergency. He was on his way to work and didn't realize he was speeding. Yeah, he didn't realize he was speeding, but I'm picking on Miami-Dade simply because Miami-Dade in Florida has had a tremendous problem with police officers thinking that they're above the law. In fact, there are a number of viral videos coming out of the Miami-Dade area where their state police cruiser videos pulling over Miami-Dade police cruisers. I mean, in one particular case, there was a female state trooper, Florida state trooper, pulling over a Miami-Dade non-emergency. He was going from his I guess Miami-Dade, you get to take your cop car home. Pretty much like New Hampshire, all the state troopers have their own vehicle. It's assigned to them. I guess the same can be said for many of the officers in Miami-Dade. I guess they get to take their cruisers home. Nothing different or new there. What was different, I guess, is he was going from his shift as a police officer to a shift as a security person. Well, he must have been late because the state trooper clocked him doing over 100 miles per hour. Yeah, the dash cam video of the state trooper cruiser showed the female trooper basically pulling the other officer out of his cruiser at gunpoint and handcuffing him. Oh, and if you listen to the sound, man, she was pissed. But you see, we have these people who are charged with modifying our behavior. Now, some of that behavior modification is good and is for our public safety, and some of it is not. It is simply for the benefit of those in power. Plain and simple. And that is not a conspiracy theory. That is just actual life fact. And what we have right now going on in this country is a presidential debate between those who tell us that they want less government modification intervention in our lives and those who want more of it. Now, let's face it, you've got an extreme on the left in Bernie Sanders, and some would say you have extreme on the right between Rand Paul and Ted Cruz. And then you have those who are a little bit less extreme, like a Jeb Bush, Marco Rubio, Hillary Clinton. And you've got those that are just seemingly in the middle. You know, Chris Christie, Donald Trump. So this is a pivotal time in our history in this country that is going to determine what happens for probably the next half century. Because I know some people say, well, it could determine how the next generation lives. No, it goes farther than that because it takes time to change from a particular governance that you do not like. It does not happen overnight. It doesn't, generations is about 20 years. Oh, yeah, okay, so 20 years from now, everything is going to change. No, it doesn't work that way. There has to be a time period of that change. We were going through a change that has set the stage for us to where we are today. And that change happened, basically, I'm going to be frank with you, under George W. Bush. I know there are a lot of people that like GW. I like GW. I mean, I like the man personally. I liked him as president. I didn't agree with him on everything as president. In fact, there were many things, some things that I disagreed with him vehemently. And I'm not a libertarian, but the Patriot Act was an evil thing to be done to this country. And I was proven correct when the Democrats got in office with Obama. And Obama, who was a big vocal, opponent of the Patriot Act, but as soon as he got into office and he was president and he had the ability, he doubled down on it. Made it stronger and worse. So the change happened under Bush, and now we're living that generation. Now, some people say there was been a slow change before that. Yeah. There were changes under Clinton. Clinton first brought to the national stage the idea of government health care with Hillary Care, which then became Romney Care in the state of Massachusetts, which was the model for Obamacare. So basically, Obamacare is Hillary Care. And now we're talking about having Hillary, who was behind Hillary Care in 1994, as our president. And you still think that change happens overnight. You folks got to learn how to connect the dots in this stuff. You have to look at each candidate based on each of the issues that are important to you. And you have to understand that these issues cannot just be important to you, but need to be important to the nation as a whole. Spock was famous for saying the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, or the one. But I might add, the needs of the many should not state to the needs of the few that you don't matter. It's not the way it works. The needs of the many should not take precedent over the rights of the few. If you need health care, that's fine. But it does not mean that the right of the individual to decide for themselves what kind of health care that they have should be usurped just so others can have health care. There is a happy medium. But you can't take away somebody else's basic freedom in order to get to that happy medium.
Your credit score is a joke, and you're too embarrassed to let anyone know your 3-digit score. Sucks to be you, but it doesn't have to. Delete all those unsightly derogatory items, collections, charge-offs, repossessions, judgments, tax liens, bankruptcies, and foreclosures. To turbo boost your credit scores, call 888-541-5571 or visit us at 700creditnow.com. You've heard the old adage, cash is king. But in some cases, credit can be just as powerful as cash. Not many people have $200,000 to put down on a house, or $50,000 to put down on a car, or $25,000 to put down in a business. But look around and you'll find that millions of Americans do have homes and cars all purchased with little to no money down. To turbo boost your credit scores, call 888-541-5571. Again, that's 888-541-5571 or visit us at www.700creditnow.com.
When you're ready to take the edge off a hectic day, I suggest you start with a little music from Franz Black.
I guess there's lots of ways to look at things that don't seem right.
No Worries has just been released on iTunes and Amazon.
It's gonna be alright.
You can find Friends Black and his music on his website, friendsblack.com. F-R-A-N-Z black.com.
It's gonna be alright.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. And then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-616-8010. That's 1-800-616-8010. Again, 1-800-616-8010. Call now.
Did you ever look at the stains in your coffee cup and then realize that's exactly what happens to your teeth? Power Swabs is the 5-minute solution to get your teeth white without visiting the dentist. This is Ben Gordon with Power Swabs, and if your teeth are stained from coffee, tea, or smoking, all it takes is 5 minutes with Power Swabs. In 5 minutes, you'll see an average of 2 shades whiter teeth, and in 7 days, 6 shades. It's clinically proven to whiten natural teeth as well as caps and veneers. The secret is a tooth detergent that was developed by Dr. Martin Ginniger that lifts stains off of your teeth. Best of all, there's no messy strips or trays that you have to leave in your mouth for an hour. Just swab your teeth for 5 minutes and you're done. To try Power Swabs risk-free, call 1-800-291-5140. That's 1-800-291-5140. I guarantee your bright white smile will have your friends talking about how great you look. Try it risk-free today. 1-800-291-5140. That's 1-800-291-5140.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 800-595-2614 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 595-2614 to take your call now. Call 800-595-2614. That's 800-595-2614. Again, 800-595-2614.
Six 835-3224 is the number, should you wish to join me here live, here on the Rod Eccles Show, as we jump right back into it. Still got a lot of stuff to cover. Still want to take your call. Look, I'm still undecided, folks. So what I would say to you is give me a call and convince me that I don't care who the candidate is. Give me a call. Try to convince me that your candidate is the best candidate for the office of president for the next 4 years. Yes, you can be a Hillary or a Feel the Burn supporter as well. Look, I'm just going to tell you all, however, I don't care who the candidate is, you have better be able to convince me and defend your candidate without platitudes. I want to know why you support somebody, and I don't want shallowness, because we always get this shallow crap, and then the person gets elected on shallow issues like Obama. Oh, hope and change, first black president, and then he gets into office and he screws everything up royally, and many of the people who voted for all that shallowness now regret that they voted for him. So it's time we stop voting for personnel. We stop voting on personality. We stop voting on shallowness. We start getting down to the nitty-gritty. And you also have to be able to understand and admit that your candidate of choice is flawed. I don't want to hear about anybody else's flaws. If you support Ted Cruz, let's discuss Ted Cruz positives and negatives. I don't want to hear about Donald Trump's negatives. That's irrelevant. You're supporting Cruz, so your job is to tell me why you support Cruz. It goes for the Trump people. That goes for the Rubio people. It goes for the Sanders and Clinton people. Don't tell me why you think there's negatives about other candidates. I don't want to hear this. Let's vote against something. No, how about we start voting for something? In order to vote for something, you have to know what you're voting for. So I'm challenging everyone out there, all of you supporters, you fanatics out there who have a particular candidate of choice, give me a real, in-depth reason for your choice in that candidate. I don't want to hear, well, he's the only candidate, because that's bullshit. I'm going to tell you right now, there is not a single candidate on either side of the political aisle that is either in the race or has dropped out of the race that was the only candidate that could do so-and-so. Bullshit. I'm calling you out right now. Don't even try to bring that here. I will call you out. No such thing. We've got a nation of 320 million people, and you're telling me what? Well, we got 13 people left in the race on both sides. They're the only 13 people that can run this country. I'm going to call bullshit. Yes, I said it 3 times on the air. Give me a reason. The reason why there are still so many people who are undecided is because people like you, supporters, haven't convinced us. Because we want to get past the surface stuff, the shallow stuff. We want to get past Donald's bad hair. Does he have bad hair or does he have good hair? Does Donald Trump really hate women? I mean, it's irrelevant. Is Ted Cruz really a citizen? You know why that's irrelevant? Because if he wasn't, it would have already been dealt with. Trust me, it would have. Because there's not a candidate running against Cruz that would not have loved to have seen him booted out. Give me a break. I mean, we've had liberal people excuse me, tell us that Cruz is eligible. No, I can excuse me, I can honestly tell you that liberals do not want Cruz to be the nominee. They don't. They don't necessarily want Trump to be the nominee either. But I don't hear liberals out there ranting and raving that Cruz is not eligible to be president. It's got to tell you something. Now you could say, well, their own candidate is that. Well, no, not really, because what we know so far is that Obama was born in Hawaii to an American citizen mother, natural-born American citizen mother. There's no question there. So all those people who said, well, Obama's not eligible, they're just flat out wrong. Plain and simple. They're just flat out wrong. Now, there's nothing more than I would love for the fact that Obama was ineligible, should be locked up as a fraud, and all his commands and edicts have thus be null and void, and all the laws that he signed are thus null and void. I would love for that to be the case, but it's not. So let's get off this platitude that they're not eligible, because evidently, by people who understand the Constitution and the original framers and who understand the author of the 17th Amendment, they're both eligible. That's not an argument anymore. Get away from it. Because you look like and sound like a total idiot when you bring it up. I'm just telling you the truth. You're viewed as some fringe lunatic. Whether you're right or left, if you bring this up, you're viewed as some fringe lunatic. Nobody's listening to you but other fringe lunatics. And there aren't enough of you to even get outvote anybody to get on a local city council of a city of only 10,000 people. Get over it. I mean, that's just the truth. So if you want to call in, and if you've called here before, now that I'm done with my diatribe, give a call, and I'll put you on the air. But understand, we're going to have a real conversation. And you're not going to, this is my show. You don't get to talk over me. Those are the rules. Now, I think I've already proven that I'm very fair, that I give just about anybody the ability to state their position and to talk. But understand that when you call and I ask a question, you don't get to move past the question until I'm satisfied you answered it. As they say in the old days, capiche? Where did that come? What is capiche? Is that Italian? I don't speak Italian, so I don't know. By the way, did you know, speaking of changing behaviors, did you know that Chicago's murder rate, the city of, the Windy City, the city of that has some of the toughest gun laws without confiscation on the entire planet, is the murder capital of the world once again. And the murder rate for the month of January hits a 15-year high. 15-year high. Unbelievable. And people are calling for Rahm Emanuel's ouster now. Let's see what happens there. 786, you're on the Rod Eccles Show. What you got?
Good morning, sir. I just want to ask you a question. How do you feel about Ted Cruz supporting amnesty and open borders?
Now, I'm going to say that's a good question. However, how do you feel about Ted Cruz introducing a poison pill that guaranteed that amnesty bill didn't get passed?
Sir. I want to.
No, I'm asking you a question. I'm going to answer your question. So here's that question to you, and keep in mind, that's part of my answer.
Feel about the fact
He
that
introduced a poison pill to that amnesty bill that guaranteed that nobody would vote for it.
But how do you feel about the fact that Ted Cruz was also made a citizen by an act of Congress? Therefore, he's naturalized.
No,
and not
he
a
was not.
Born citizen.
That was a platitude. Let me tell you something. You go back to the amendment that talked about naturalized citizens. The author of that amendment says that only Congress has the ability to determine who is a natural-born citizen in the first place. That's our Constitution. So if Congress, let's just say that you're correct. If Congress determined that he's a natural-born citizen based on the laws of the Constitution, who are you and I to argue?
But they didn't. All they did was naturalize him like any other immigrant.
But he was already a natural-born citizen according to the Constitution.
But no, he was not. If he was a natural-born citizen, he would not have had to be naturalized.
So, in other words,
that's the point.
In other words, all of these liberal and conservative,
non-naturalized.
So, in other words, all these liberal and conservative constitutional experts, quote unquote, who disagree with you, they're all wrong, including a very loudmouth Mark Levin.
I mean, no matter how you look at it, he was not born here. He was not born on
So let me ask you
soil.
something.
How
does that change his positions?
Let me ask you something. It makes him ineligible.
But how does it change his positions? So, first of all, if he was ineligible, see, this is the problem with you people. You do not listen. You have got both sides of the political aisle who have just said that Ted Cruz is more than qualified as a natural-born citizen to run. Now, I got to tell you, the people that are scared of him the most are the left, and they are not clamoring to get him removed. So do you think maybe you're barking up the wrong tree?
He supports amnesty, and he
So now we're back on amnesty when he's the one that got the bill killed.
He that's what you claim, but I'm not buying
That's
that.
not claiming. That's actually what happened.
That was his baby.
That's actually, no, amnesty was Rubio's baby.
I mean,
Ted Cruz killed it.
It's easy to say at the end of the day, he introduced the poison pill because it failed, but at the beginning of the day, that was still his thing. I mean, that was still his baby.
Well, I don't know. Maybe it's you and I don't have to like it. But maybe it's just politics and how politics works in Washington. Do you think maybe we should change how politics works? See, again, you're not paying attention.
Who vocally opposes amnesty.
This is
Donald
typical.
Trump.
You know what? You are no better than the left. Because you do not listen, because you're stuck on your platitudes, and that's it.
Coming from people who oppose Donald Trump, that, he belongs on the left and all this nonsense. But the truth is, he's the only one who supports vets. He's the only one who's openly a patriot.
Really? He's the only one who supports vets? Really? How? And where's your proof of that?
We have to smash Islamic jihadism. He's the only
so
one.
None of them else are saying that we should kill Islamic jihadists.
He's the only one that's unashamed of being an American. He's the only non-political.
Did you pay attention to what I said earlier? Did you pay attention? Hold on. If you want to stay on this program, you need to shut up right now and listen and answer to my question.
You know what? Go fuck yourself.
This is the problem, folks. Now, I got to tell you, if I were on the fence for Trump, this supporter just convinced me not to vote for him. And I want to thank you because you just convinced a whole bunch of people on the fence out there not to vote for Donald Trump because they're going to think that Donald Trump supporters, the majority of them, are like you. And frankly, you're no different than the liberal left. And that is not a good thing. Let me be very frank. I don't know how many times I have to say this, or how many times to get it through your thick skulls. If you are that type of a supporter, that man had no depth in his support for Trump. None. Because he's too busy worried about whether or not Ted Cruz is a natural-born citizen when everybody who actually is in power says that he is. Everybody's saying the Constitution is on Ted Cruz's side. Get over it already. Enough is enough. No wonder we're so screwed up as a country. Because you idiots out there like that man are too busy focused on the wrong thing. You think the best way to get people to vote for your candidate of choice is to browbeat somebody and tell them how stupid they are. Let me tell you exactly what that's going to do. You get on national radio and national TV with that kind of BS, and you're going to turn off the most Americans you've ever seen before, and your candidate is going to lose. Now, maybe that's your goal. I don't know. But that's exactly what's going to happen. Donald Trump is not the only candidate who supports vets. Donald Trump is not the only candidate who wants to kill jihadists. Donald Trump is not the only candidate who wants to rebuild our military. You're the type of idiot that will say either if Donald Trump is not your choice, if he is not the nominee, then you're not going to vote, which then is going to make sure and ensure, just like 2012, that Hillary Clinton is elected. Thank you very much for screwing up this country. Because you're so shallow, that you cannot see how idiotic that you're being and how shallow that you really are. Now, I like Donald Trump. I really do. I like Ted Cruz. I like Marco Rubio. I like Dr. Carson. Let me tell you something. Even freaking Jeb Bush would be a better president than Hillary Clinton, and you better get on board with it. Because unless you want another 4 years of Barack Obama, or God forbid, even worse, Bernie Sanders, then you better get off your high horse and stop thinking that one candidate is the only candidate that can do anything. Because they're not. We are fighting for the very soul of this country for the next 2, 3, 4 generations. We're talking for possibly the next 50 to 100 years. Now, I'm sorry. Donald Trump is 69 years old. He's not going to be around that much longer. But what he does, or what Bernie Sanders does, or what Hillary Clinton does, is going to affect this country for the next 50 to 100 years. Do you not understand that? So F me, sir? I don't think so. Oh, I should take that back because you're about to F the entire country of 320 million people. I mean, come on. I specifically said that we're going to have a discussion and you're going to answer questions, and you want to go off on the same platitude that you called with an hour ago. Idiocy. Look, we got idiots on the right side as well as idiots on the left side. I hate to say it, but that's the truth. And nothing tees me off more than people who are so bullheaded and blind that they don't see the destruction that they're actually causing. They think they're saving something, and they're not saving a damn thing. They're destroying what they love most. And that gentleman is a perfect example of somebody who loves something so much that he'd rather see it completely and utterly destroyed than to do something that he might consider to be a compromise. And that is just sad. You know, we got, right now, our deficit just hit $19 trillion. You've got two candidates on the left that basically have said that they will continue and double down and probably double that deficit within the next 4 years if they're elected. So basically, by the time Obama gets out of office, we're going to be approaching $20 trillion in national debt. Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton basically have promised to take us in the next 4 years from $20 to $40 trillion. This country cannot afford that kind of debt. If we even get close to $40 trillion, no, I'm sorry, folks, the United States is done. It is done. It will not be able to be saved because there's no way. Look, our gross national product is not $19 trillion. Do you understand in order for this country to remain viable at $40 trillion, our gross national product in 4 years has to double. Has to nearly double. That means the unemployment rate, for sure, in the next 4 years has to really get down to below 5%. That means 94 million Americans who are currently out of a job and unemployed right now, nearly all of them need to find a job. Do you understand? That's not going to happen in 4 years, especially with Bernie Sanders or Hillary Clinton as president. It's not going to matter it's not going to happen with Donald Trump as president. It's not going to happen as Ted Cruz. There is nobody. Ronald Reagan was probably the best economic comeback kid in the history of the world, and it took him 8 years to do it. We're not going to do it in 4. We're in just as bad, if not worse shape today than when Ronald Reagan took office over from Jimmy Carter. Our military is in worse shape today than it was under Jimmy Carter. Do you understand that? By today's standards, if you're doing everything in constant numbers, today's military is smaller and in worse condition than under Jimmy Carter. It was bad under Carter. It's worse under Obama. Under Reagan, we had more than 600 naval vessels. Today, we have less than 300. You're not going to build 300 naval ships in 4 years. The cost would be astronomical. Not to mention, are you going to be able to, without a draft, are you going to be able to staff those 300 ships? No. This is something that we've got to learn that has to be done step by step. Ronald Reagan understood that. There is not going to be an overnight change. And the problem is that I know a lot of people are expecting that. If they elect Donald Trump, they're going to expect an overnight turnaround. If they elect Ted Cruz, they're going to expect an overnight turnaround. And if it's not the way they want it, well, then they're going to be so upset that they're going to want to throw him out of office in 4 years. And this is part of the problem with the gentleman that just called, because they're setting up Trump for failure. If Trump does happen to become the nominee and then the president, they will set him up for complete and total failure. Because let's face it, if Trump is the only one who can do this, and he's the only one who can do that, and he doesn't do it, then who are they going to blame? They're going to blame who? They're going to blame people like you and Trump for giving us Trump, and they're going to do what they did back in 2008 and go in the opposite direction. Say, well, hey, these are all new people over here, because I can tell you in 4 years the Democrats are not going to be putting up Hillary and O'Malley and Sanders. It's going to be somebody totally new. And people are just like Obama was somebody totally new. So they're going to go and say, well, hey, this guy's new. Let's try him out. And hell, since the Democrats are so good at ripping off the ideas of the Republicans, they might go out and find their own Latino and say, let's make history again and elect our first Latino president. Because, you know, those racist Republicans couldn't do it. And they'll go out and find some ultra-liberal socialist Latino, and there's plenty of them out there. They'll put them up, pad them up, and next thing you know, we'll have a Latino president who's out there doing exactly the same thing that Barack Obama has done and put this country back in the hole. And we'll be talking about this 8 years from now. Folks, you know, not to sound like a parent, but geez, crow. As this guy said, using the F-bomb, grow the F up. I mean, really.
Give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Sign him up for the Box of Bait Club and he'll never be hungry again. The Box of Bait Club is a brand new dream come true for every fisherman. Something new and different in your tackle box every month. Every month, another excuse to get outside and do what you love. Don't let this one get away. The Box of Bait Club is currently accepting a limited number of pre-orders with subscriptions starting at $39.95 per month. Find out more now. Log on to boxofbaitclub.com.
I'm just so happy my father had a chance to see his kids before he passed. I just want to say thank you.
When her father fell ill, the American Red Cross was able to help get Veronica's brother home from the Navy to speak to his father one last time. It's thanks to your donations that we can connect military families when they need it most. Please donate today at redcross.org.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. And then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washing washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-616-8010. That's 1-800-616-8010. Again, 1-800-616-8010. Call now.
Are you tired of commuting to a job that makes someone else rich? Working harder than ever, but getting nowhere? Do you hate spending hundreds of dollars every week on daycare? Having someone else raise your children? With our opportunities, you can start earning money as soon as next week. You get to be the boss, work from home, and live a happier life. At Be the Boss Network, you'll find hundreds of work-from-home opportunities that you can literally start today and be earning money as soon as next week. Go to freedom133.com and start earning money as soon as next week. You get to be the boss. Get out of the rat race. Work from home. Go to freedom133.com right now and change your life today. That's freedom, the number 133.com. Go to freedom133.com and start earning money as soon as next week. You be the boss. Go to freedom133.com.
Attention business owners. We know that owning a business means getting things done right now. So if your right now list includes a new building, call the Right Now Company. General Steel. We can design a building for your business quickly and save you thousands of dollars. That's right, thousands. You may think General Steel only builds large projects or that you can't afford General Steel quality. Well, check these prices. How about a 40 by 60 foot building for under $22,000? Or even a 50 by 100 for under $35,000? That's right, a 5,000 square foot building for under $35,000. And these buildings all have General Steel quality. Best of all, you can still order a building and have it delivered in time to build this year. How's that for right now? So if your right now list includes a new building, call the Right Now Company, General Steel.
800-393-5756. 800-393-5756. 800-393-5756. That's 800-393-5756.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 800-595-2614 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 595-2614 to take your call now. Call 800-595-2614. That's 800-595-2614. Again, 800-595-2614.
Boy, man, I had a rough night's sleep. Boy, whew, I got a letter from the IRS yesterday and I just couldn't sleep. Man, I'm dying here. Somebody help me.
IRS problems affect more than just your finances. If you're ready to take back control of your life and you owe more than $10,000, you need to call the tax doctor. Their expert staff can immediately protect you from the IRS and state collectors and get you the best possible tax settlement guaranteed. The IRS has recently released new programs geared in helping struggling taxpayers, where you may qualify to settle your tax debt and wipe out up to 85% or more of what you currently owe. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes, call the tax doctor right now. See if you qualify to pay less. 800-989-1694. 800-989-1694. 800-989-1694. Again, 800-989-1694.
You want to know what time it is? It's time to bring the rain.
Zinc Media. Feel the power of knowledge.
You know, we got stories today about how well the left is doing. 91% of Americans do not even care about global warming. 91%. And interesting enough, during this political round, Hillary Clinton barely talks about it. Although, you know, you've got Obama over there doubling down. And by the way, in order to fulfill the recent global warming summit treaty that Obama signed on to, that Congress has to ratify, it'll cost this country over $12 trillion to live up to that. And Clinton is rightfully not talking about it because she believes in it too. Now, interestingly enough, Bernie Sanders doesn't seem to care about it. Now, you could say, well, Bernie, he cares about the environment. But, we go to countries, because Bernie Sanders is really an ultra-socialist. I mean, he's bordering on communism. Now, interestingly enough, communists really don't care all that much about the environment. Do they? Think Cuba cares about their... No, Cuba's destroying their environment. They're over-farming. One of the reasons why Cuban cigars are no longer valued and as good as they used to be, because without properly utilizing the land, they've over-farmed it. China, they built that Three Gorges Dam and created, natural devastation not seen on this planet by man ever before. The ecosystems that the Chinese created building that dam were enormous. They did not give two rips. They didn't care that they were about to flood whole towns and villages that go back hundreds and thousands of years. They moved the people. They said by force, you know what? You want to stay here? Fine. We'll rebuild your town high up on the hill over here. Because the town down here is going to be underwater once the dam is done. And they didn't clean that crap up. Do you realize that, there are places in China where old towns used to be that people are saying that they can go, scuba diving to see the old buildings and stuff. And the garbage is down there. You want to talk about environmental devastation. That's the Three Gorges Dam. That's communism. There's no way in hell we'd be able to build anything like that today in this country. So this whole notion that climate is, climate warming, man-made climate change is settled, it's not, because 91% of Americans don't care about it, which means that the majority of that 91% don't even believe it. They don't believe there is man-made global climate change. The interesting thing is that poll after poll is showing that a growing number of Europeans in those socialist European countries also do not believe it. Because nothing of the total devastation that they have promised and predicted has come to pass. Ever. Every time they predict something, the time goes by. There's not a word about it. Hey, missed the death. Kind of like, the Armageddon people, the end of times, and the date would come and go, and then they'd reset the date. Oh, we got it. We misread the calendar, and they set another date, and it'd go past that, and they'd say, well, certain things have changed, so the date got moved up ahead, and they set the date, and that date would come and go. The same thing happened with global warming. I don't know how many times Al Gore said by the year 1998 or the year 2000 or the year 2010, there was going to be calamity. Nothing. Kind of like the old argument that in 1999, everybody was running around saying that in the year 2000, because of all the embedded chips, the world was going to come to an end as we know it. There wasn't even a flicker of anybody's lights that didn't mess with a switch. On January 1st, 12 a.m., the year 2000. People are tired of these doomsday scenarios. They're not buying it. You know what's going to happen one of these days is that we're really going to have a worldwide problem. Like, say, a planet killer asteroid. The world governments are going to warn us that there's going to be this huge possible asteroid that's going to strike the Earth. And you know what? The world is not going to believe them. Because how many times have we been told that we've had a close call? This planet killer passed by us, and this planet killer passed by us, and then that one passed by, and this one the size of Manhattan passed by us. Close, astronomically speaking, very close. I guess there was even a couple of them that passed so close that the Earth gravitational pull slightly changed their trajectory. I don't know, maybe that means in 1,000 years when they finish their orbit and they come back, it'll mean that they'll hit us because the Earth changed the trajectory just enough to hit us next time. I don't know. But right now, we've been told, I don't know how many times, that we came this close to total annihilation. The people of the Earth are tired of these doomsday scenarios. We're not buying it anymore. That's the lesson of all of this. The little boy who cried wolf one too many times. And then when the wolf did show up, nobody believed. Bernie Sanders isn't talking about the environment. I find it interesting. But he is focusing on government takeover of just about everything. He is talking about taxing you to... look, he's pointing to places like Denmark. And, I see this all the time. People talk about Sweden and Denmark and Finland and how they're these perfect socialist utopias. They're far from it. The interesting thing is that we listen to people here talk about over there. Why not? This is a small world. Why not go over there and talk directly to them? I tell you why the left does not go over there and talk to them and use them as a prop in their propaganda. Because they know that it is not a utopia over there. They know that it's terrible. Now they're trying to point out, well, hey, look at Iceland, man. Iceland, they put their bankers in jail. Well, do they also tell you that it just wasn't the bankers that literally bankrupted the nation of Iceland, that needed a European bailout? It was also their politicians and their socialist ideas. The same thing happened here. We had people like Chris Dodd and Bernie Frank, who kept telling us that the banks needed to make loans, home loans, to people who the banks knew probably could not pay the mortgage back. And then they blamed the banks for doing it. They broke the system, and then they claim they fixed it, and they didn't fix it. They kicked the can down the road, and we're probably going to revisit this whole type of bubble once again, when we shouldn't have to. There are so many. Look, we are in such. I know historical comparisons. People are so ignorant of history right now, especially the younger generation, the millennials. They don't know history at all. They really don't. When the older generation tries to tell them, hey, look, you're repeating the same things that ancient Rome did just before its fall, it falls in deaf ears. They don't get it. They don't understand it. Because they don't know their history. Because you've had leftists in charge of education for the past 40 or so years. These are the same people that keep telling us, well, we need to spend more and more money on education, and we spend more and more money, and we get less and less results, and they keep telling us we need to spend more and more, to the point that we're spending more than any other industrialized nation per student on education. And yet we are at the bottom of standardized testing all over the world. We're at the bottom of the list. And they keep telling us, oh, we're rising in this area, we're rising in that area. Compared to whom? We're not rising in the eyes of the world. You know, this whole... People used to blame the industrialist for the way our educational system is designed because they were just creating workers for the industrial machine. Well, let me tell you something. That, to a degree, is absolutely true. There was an educational system that changed the education in this country to go from agrarian to industrialized, meaning that they needed to have certain types of educated workers to run the industrial machine. That is how what we have today, our current educational system, was developed, was to teach people to be intelligent enough to be able to follow direction and run the industrialized machine. You can say that the industrialist, like, Carnegie, was in charge of that type of transformation. But let me tell you what happened. Then the liberals got a hold of it. And they started plotting and planning and saying, well, we need to do this, this, and this. We need to try this, this, and this. We need to move away from the good old-fashioned system that actually worked at educating people. Look, back in the 20s and 30s, in the teens, people with an 8th grade education back then were better educated than many of our college graduates today. That is not up for dispute. Look, all you got to do is walk into McDonald's and you've got a high school kid or a college kid who's in college trying to work his way through. Few of them do that, but some of them, they can't even add change without a computer. They can't calculate it. That's a failure of the educational system. Now, last week I had a story of there are kids in the New York City school district that cannot hand sign their own name. You want to tell me that's an educational system that's working? We've got teachers that earn high 5 figures, low 6 figures in public school systems. And yet we've got dropout rates approaching 50%. We have one of the lowest graduation rates from high school in the entire world. We like to think that we have the highest literacy rate. We do not. We've got kids graduating college that cannot read at an 8th grade level. I write articles, and I write books and stories. I've written short stories. I've written children's books in the past. And let me tell you something. You've always been told that to reach the majority of the people, you've got to write in 8th grade English. So write in a style that an 8th grader can understand you. Well, by today's standards, we've got so many people that cannot even read at an 8th grade level, they still won't be able to understand you. But we're supposed to believe we have an educational system that works. All we need is more money. What is Washington, D.C., what do they spend? Like $19,000 per student per year? One of the highest rates in the world for public education. I mean, we're talking at $19,000 for the city of Washington, D.C. That's a higher tuition rate than almost every single private school, primary and secondary school in the country. And we're talking some of the good ones the really prestigious ones don't charge $19,000 a year. They're close. But we're talking public school here. And those private education institutions, they churn out the leaders of this world, of this nation. the highly educated, who will then get to rule over the masses who are poorly educated. Don't think that is not by design, because it is. We have entered into an age that is just like it was in the past. We are in an age of the ruling class and the non-ruling class. If you're in the ruling class, you probably got an A-rate education. If you're in the non-ruling class, you probably did not. The whole notion that we're getting leaders that were educated in public schools is becoming small. Then that number is becoming smaller and smaller and smaller. And again, that is by design. The ruling class is picking and choosing who is going to succeed in this country and who is not. Who is going to succeed in this country and who is going to work for them. In other words, who's going to be in the royal court, even though we don't have a king and queen? And who are going to be the paupers and peasants? Don't doubt me on this, folks. At the same time, we got a story here from TexasTribune.org. Feds plan to cut border monitoring. Wait, what? I thought Obama was doubling down, stopping illegals. He was deporting more than any president in history. He was stopping more than any president in history. But haven't we been told that? Hasn't the White House told us that they're doing such a great job, but we need to have comprehensive immigration reform to really fix the problem? No, they don't want to fix the problem. They want to cut border security. Why? Well, probably because they think it's costing too much and they want to spend that money on domestic freebies. Folks, this country is at such a definitive crossroads. The way is clear. I don't think it has ever been more clear-cut in our country's history that we have a choice to make this time around. That we are definitely going to determine how our posterity lives. And for those of you in Rush Limbaugh's Realenda, that means your kids, your grandkids, your great-grandkids, and your great-great-grandkids. Most of whom you're not going to meet because you're not going to be alive. Or then, in a strange karma twist of irony, maybe many of us will be alive due to rapid medical advances coming from a free market medical system, not out of a socialized medical system that Europe and Asia has. You want people to die soon? Get socialized medicine. You want to live longer and healthier? Then your chance is in free market medicine, not socialized medicine. I mean, we have medical scientists today that tell us that within the next 10 to 20 years, they will be able to extend healthy human lifespan up to 120 years. Now, how would you like to be 100 years old, a centenarian, and still be able to run a marathon if you chose? In other words, how would you like to be 100, but biologically be 50? Now, I don't know anybody who would say, no, I don't want to live that long. Why? You don't want to live that long because you think you're going to be old, decrepit, and dependent on everybody else and have to wear a Depends diaper. But if you're biologically 40 or 50 years old at the age of 100, you're going to tell me you're not going to want to live. Oh, BS. Of course you are. Well, medical science in this country is telling us that is a possibility within the next 1 or 2 decades. They are mapping out the genes and figuring out how everything works in our DNA, and they're being able to manipulate it and treat it and stop and withhold and delay the aging process. You slow down the aging process, and what do you got? You got a 50-year-old who's now 20. You got a 100-year-old who's now 50. You've got people living longer and healthier and more active for a longer period of time. And it comes from free market-based medicine, not socialized medicine. So maybe by this strange twist of fate, if they're actually able to honestly extend healthy human lifespan, maybe you will be around. And then you'll be able to see how bad of a mistake that you made. See, one of the advantages of dying early is you don't get to live through the mistakes that you made. I don't, it is beyond me how anybody is going to would fall for this notion that government is the answer and does everything best. Let me tell you what government is best at. Government is best at breaking things and killing people. That's our military's job. Governments have always been best at that. Not advancing science. Not advancing the human condition. Not advancing society. Oh, sure, government can try to set goals. And sure, government can build cities at a tremendous cost. The ancient world was built by, cities were built by government. The fabulous cities, capital cities, built by governments, but at tremendous human cost and financial cost. And governments like our government back in the 60s can set a goal, a national goal, getting to the moon, and put all those resources of the people together to achieve that goal. But it still takes the people and a private sector to be able to realize those goals. Government is not best at what the private sector is best at. And I would be suspect of any candidate that says government can do this and government should do that and government should take over this part of your life. Because government can't do it better. And indeed, we've seen over the last 100 years in this country alone, when government says they wanted to take over this and take over that and do this and provide that, we've seen that the services that people got, the American people got, the quality of those services dropped tremendously. Promises are never met. You say Social Security and Medicaid?
Your credit score is a joke, and you're too embarrassed to let anyone know your 3-digit score. Sucks to be you, but it doesn't have to. Delete all those unsightly derogatory items, collections, charge-offs, repossessions, judgments, tax liens, bankruptcies, and foreclosures. To turbo boost your credit scores, call 888-541-5571 or visit us at 700creditnow.com. You've heard the old adage, cash is king. But in some cases, credit can be just as powerful as cash. Not many people have $200,000 to put down on a house, or $50,000 to put down on a car, or $25,000 to put down in a business. But look around and you'll find that millions of Americans do have homes and cars all purchased with little to no money down. To turbo boost your credit scores, call 888-541-5571. Again, that's 888-541-5571 or visit us at www.700creditnow.com.
When you're ready to take the edge off a hectic day, I suggest you start with a little music from Franz Black.
I guess there's lots of ways to look at things that don't seem right.
No Worries has just been released on iTunes and Amazon.
It's gonna be alright.
You can find Friends Black and his music on his website, friendsblack.com. F-R-A-N-Z black.com.
It's gonna be alright.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. And then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-616-8010. That's 1-800-616-8010. Again, 1-800-616-8010. Call now.
Did you ever look at the stains in your coffee cup and then realize that's exactly what happens to your teeth? Power Swabs is the 5-minute solution to get your teeth white without visiting the dentist. This is Ben Gordon with Power Swabs, and if your teeth are stained from coffee, tea, or smoking, all it takes is 5 minutes with Power Swabs. In 5 minutes, you'll see an average of 2 shades whiter teeth, and in 7 days, 6 shades. It's clinically proven to whiten natural teeth as well as caps and veneers. The secret is a tooth detergent that was developed by Dr. Martin Ginniger that lifts stains off of your teeth. Best of all, there's no messy strips or trays that you have to leave in your mouth for an hour. Just swab your teeth for 5 minutes and you're done. To try Power Swabs risk-free, call 1-800-291-5140. That's 1-800-291-5140. I guarantee your bright white smile will have your friends talking about how great you look. Try it risk-free today. 1-800-291-5140. That's 1-800-291-5140.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 800-595-2614 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 595-2614 to take your call now. Call 800-595-2614. That's 800-595-2614. Again, 800-595-2614. Bring the rain.
economic freedom. Now, understand that the 2016 Index of Economic Freedom is not really telling us how good the economy works, but it tells you about our government. And since we are now at the lowest point, tied the lowest point ever under Obama, and you've got folks who want to continue this slide. Now, how does economic freedom slide? Our declining score is the direct result and is closely related to the rapidly rising size of government, rapid government spending rise, subsidies, and bailouts. You know, the whole notion that, you know, this company's too big to fail, or that company's too big to fail. Now, look, I understand that the government needed to step in and bail out banks because the government caused the banks to go under in the first place. And I understand people are saying, well, look, we bailed out GM and now GM is stronger than ever. I tell you that GM should have gone through the bankruptcy process. The reason why they did not go through the bankruptcy process, and they didn't want GM to do that, because General Motors, at the time, was the largest industrial company in this country, one of the largest industrial companies in the world. The largest industrial company in this country that was unionized. And to go through the bankruptcy process would have meant that the unions of GM would have been busted. And for whatever reason, the liberals and the moderates could not stand to see unions being totally and utterly destroyed. Let's face it, everybody knows that I'm not a huge union fan, but I got to tell you, in a lot of industries, unions are part of the problem, not the solution to a lot of our current economic woes. Look, who do you think is behind this push to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour? Union, big labor. Because there are many unions who have salary indexes. Now, what does that mean to the average person? Well, if you're in a union, you don't often get merit raises. And usually in unions, the only way you get a raise is if you change your job. You don't get a merit raise. And one of the ways that you raise people's salaries or wages in unions is you have an index portion of your contract. In other words, it's tied to the low end, the minimum wage. And a lot of union contracts say that you've got to make, the lowest union member has to make a certain amount, certain percentage or certain dollar amount above minimum wage. So naturally, if minimum wage is $7 and minimum salary has to be $5 over minimum wage, well, what is that? $12 an hour. Well, if you raise the minimum wage to $15, guess what happens to the person who's making $12 or $13 an hour? Oh yeah, now they're making $20 an hour or more. And understand that the biggest labor union in this country are filled with government employees who also would get raises. So do you want to know why they're pushing for a raise? It isn't because economics have been proven over and over again. It isn't to help the person at the low end of the economic scale, because within a year they'll be back to where they were when they were at $7 or $8 or $9 an hour. The economy has to balance out. You don't raise wages in a void. If you raise a wage, it has to come from somewhere. Now, if you raise it across the board, well, prices have to rise. Inflation has to rise. So by the time it's all said and done, real wage gain is zero. Real purchasing power is zero. Understand, these people, they know that. Which is why these unions have an economic floor tied, or a wage floor tied to the minimum wage. Because the only people who are going to make out in this are the union people. They're going to get slightly ahead while utilizing and using the poor people at the bottom, the so-called working poor. Do you realize what $15 an hour is basically $30,000 a year? Are you telling me that somebody who's flipping burgers at McDonald's, if they have a full-time job at McDonald's, is worth $30,000 a year? No, they're not. The job is not worth it. I mean, we've seen other countries try this, and they end up with a Big Mac costing $7 to $10. Not the whole meal, just the burger. Now, I don't know many Americans who want to pay $10 for a Big Mac. Hell, I'm not even paying $10 for a Five Guys burger. And it's, 100 times better than the traditional big three fast food burgers, in my opinion. Yes, I love Five Guys. I really do. I don't eat there often, not because I can't afford it or it's too expensive, just simply because for health reasons, you shouldn't eat at places like that every day. So I don't. But maybe once a month or so, I'll go over to Five Guys. I love Five Guys. It's awesome. And I know that you may say, well, this is a promotion. No, it's not a promotion. I'm just telling you that I love. If you've got a Five Guys anywhere near you and you've never eaten there, try it out. You are going to love it. You know who else makes great burgers? Is Dave & Buster's. Now, are you telling me that the people at these burger joints are worth $30,000 a year? Not even there. Sorry, no. It's not a skill, actually. Now, as somebody who there's nobody who builds a car anymore. And there haven't been people, well, I shouldn't say nobody. They're called custom vehicles. But basically, your mass-produced vehicle, nobody builds it. They make a component. And robots pretty much assemble much of that together. And then humans put on the finishing assembly points or parts. Hell, you don't even, in most cases, a car is not, well, I don't think, there's not a single case now where a car is completely built and assembled in one location. It's multiple locations. I mean, you have this whole thing called a final assembly point. Look, read the manufacturer slip sticker on your car, your driver's side car door. It'll say final assembly point. Because they build all the components someplace else, oftentimes, even if it's an American-made car by an American company, oftentimes it's made with components built in China, Taiwan, Japan, and all over the place, Mexico. And they import all those products from different countries and different states to that one final assembly plant where they finally put the whole thing together. They don't make the whole thing in the same state anymore, let alone the same plant. So even the highly skilled trades are not so highly skilled anymore. But look, I am not saying that a person shouldn't be able to earn whatever they think that they're worth. But understand, you're only worth as much as somebody who's paying you thinks you're worth. If you think you're worth more than that, well, you got to find a different job where somebody thinks you're worth more than that. But if a burger joint thinks that you're only worth $10 an hour, but you think you're worth $15, go find a job where an employer thinks that that particular job that you're going to do is worth paying you $15 an hour. You can't demand that you're worth more. That's not how it works. That's how it never works, because you're not going to get ahead that way. You're going to end up being in the exact same position that you were before. And you're going to look around and say, but I got a raise. I'm making 50. Everybody's making $15 an hour now. Why can't I get ahead? Well, because your $15 is now worth what your $10 used to be worth. That's why you're not getting ahead. That's Economics 101, folks. And trust me, those in power who are trying to formulate these policies, they know that all too well. See, the one thing that we have to fully understand is, I know that I even say this sometimes too, is that the left is stupid. No, the left is not stupid. They're brilliant. They are smart. They know that through the dumbing down of our educational system, they can tell you just about anything and you'll believe it when they know what the truth is. They fully understand that artificially raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour is not going to help you at all, but it's going to help them a whole bunch. And while they're demanding that you get $15 an hour, they're going to say, hey, you know what? Now that you're making $30,000, you're in a different tax bracket. You know what that means? You're going to pay more in taxes. You know what that means to a lefty and a moderate? We get to spend more. You know what that means? We control you more. Plain and simple. Let's take another call here. 443, you're live on the Rod Eccles Show. What you got?
Hello?
Hello, 443. You're live. What you got?
Who am I speaking with?
You're speaking with Rod.
Hi, Ron. I think I dialed the wrong number.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that. You're on the Rod Eccles Show. You're live on the radio.
Oh, really? What is your show about? Maybe I did dial the right number.
Well, we're
I was
currently
trying to
talking
reach one of my tech clients.
One of your tech clients. Oh, well,
My tech client.
okay. Well, I think this is a first. Wrong number gets on the air on a nationally syndicated radio show. Are you into politics?
Not really, Ron. I can't really say that I'm into politics. What are you guys talking about? Maybe I can give my spin on it since I'm live.
We're talking about the economic conditions of the United States and the results of the Iowa caucus last night.
Oh, well, I did not watch the caucus last night. I was busy doing taxes.
Taxes? Well,
Yes.
Well, this is tax season.
Absolutely, and I'm an accountant.
Well, we're talking about the possibility of people who are earning, $10 an hour, who might get a raise if they raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour. What most people don't realize is that's going to put them about $30,000 a year, and that's going to put most of those low-end workers into a new tax bracket. Is that not?
That's true. That's true. And a lot of those employees that are now receiving $10 an hour are the low-income clients that I deal with that oftentimes get the earned income tax credit, and once they go into that new tax bracket, they will no longer receive that, and that's going to be a harsh reality for a lot of them, unfortunately.
Well, so that also probably explains why some people who got a raise, like in places like out in Seattle and San Francisco, some of the workers have been known to ask to have their hours cut because they were obviously making too much to get certain government assistance that they were used to. And now they were finding, now they're forced to pay everything on themselves, and they couldn't afford to.
Absolutely. Right. And, because a lot of times they just depend on the government assistance, and they just can't adjust. They can't seem to adapt I guess we could say newfound wealth, which is not a lot of money for the average citizen. That's not a lot of money. But to them, it's a lot because they have their benefits taken away and things that help them to survive otherwise when they were making a lower income. So you're absolutely correct, Ron.
Well, here on this show, I'm known as a guy who's almost always right, so I'm not surprised to hear you say that. But when now a little bit, let's move on a little bit more about this tax stuff. Now, we're hearing that a lot of people, well, the Bernie Sanders tax plan is going to raise everybody's taxes, especially those on the lower end of the economic scale. They're going to be hit the hardest. Now, when a wealthy person, pick a number, it depends on who you're talking to. $50,000 could be wealthy to somebody.
Absolutely.
But when a wealthy person gets hit with a higher tax bill, that means that they have less money in their pocket, right?
Possibility.
Okay. So if they have less money to spend, are they going to spend money that they don't have?
Well, if they're wealthy, there's ways to get around it with proper tax planning. Even if they do have even more, taxes, a higher tax bill, with proper tax planning, there's always a possible way to avoid those additional tax liabilities for the wealthy.
Oh, so the rich, even though they're in a higher tax bracket, because they have the ability and wherewithal to have proper tax planning, aren't necessarily going to pay that much more in taxes.
Not necessarily with the proper tax strategy. Absolutely not.
So the whole notion that raising the rich's taxes is going to raise a whole lot of money is not actually true.
Nope, not at all. Not necessarily true.
So the people who have less of wherewithal and less of ability to pay for tax planning are going to pay more in taxes.
That could absolutely be a possibility because, if they don't know, a lot of times the less wealthier, they don't know about their options. And if they're going to, the local, the big chains where they just train people over 2 weeks and sit them behind a desk, or, some other local neighborhood location or something or another, they're not going to educate them on those things such as tax planning. So, yes, they could pay more.
Well, it sounds like you're a very knowledgeable tax person, tax planner. So I'm going to do something that's first in the history of radio that I know of. I'm going to ask you to give yourself a short advertisement for your services, free of charge, simply because you got the wrong number.
I am so amazed, wow, I'm on the radio and I dialed the wrong number trying to reach one of my clients. Well, I thank you for that. So if anyone wants to reach me, my name is Felicia Griffin. I am on Twitter at Ms. Tax Breaks. That's MIZTAXBREAKS, Ms. Tax Breaks. You can reach me there, or you can reach me by phone at 410-357-1829.
Well, there you go, folks. Thank you very much for dialing the wrong number.
Thank you, Ron, for having me.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I have never had that happen. I've never heard of anybody ever having that happen. But I'm glad that she called. Kind of fortuitous to make my point, don't you think? Look. Okay, you Donald Trump fanatics out there, try topping that one. You Bernie Sanders fanatics out there, try topping that one. Look, folks, the whole issue about taxes is taxes are simply a means of trying to control your economic destiny. And they're a means of forcing you to live your life in the way in which those who are making the tax code want you to live your life. We've seen it happen. Every time they raise the taxes on a carton of cigarettes, more and more people decide that they can't afford it and they quit smoking. And then it gets to the point where they're not receiving the amount of revenue that they thought they were going to receive or should be receiving from taxes on cigarettes, because fewer and fewer people are smoking them and buying them. So what do? They say, oh, well, we're not making that kind of revenue, but we still have these programs that are being funded by this tax cigarette, or the cigarette tax, so we've got to raise taxes again, which then forces more people to quit smoking. You see that how that works? They're forcing you to live your life based on their mores. And we have all these people telling us that, people shouldn't tell people how to live and how to love and who to marry and all this kind of stuff. But yet we have these tax codes that tell us exactly how to live, who to love, how to love them, when to love, all that kind of stuff. You want kids? Sure. We'll pay for them through a child tax credit. Because after all, having kids is an important thing, and we want to make sure that you have them, right? And because God forbid you have a child that you can't afford to have, which unless you're extremely wealthy, no parent really can afford to have a kid. You just make do. But we're told that we're supposed to be able to, as a village, it takes a village to raise a kid. And in other words, that village means, well, everybody's got to pitch in. So every time the government takes more taxes from you, takes more money out of your pocket, what do they end up doing? They understand and know that you have less money. They're not stupid. I keep telling you this. They're not stupid. They know you have less money. So they're going to come up with a program to justify taking your money. Oh, we're going to take more taxes out of you. We're going to give you free college tuition then. Well, how about you just give me a tax cut and I can afford to go to the college of my choice? No. Because it's not fair to those people who can't afford to go to college. So, in other words, to make it it's always the left's idea to use the word fairness. And in order to make it fair, what you've got to do is take from somebody who built something, who has something, and then turn around and hold that money, launder it through the government system, and then spit out 20, 30, or 40 cents of that buck that they just took from somebody else and give it to somebody else and say, well, that's fair. Okay, we're going to take from this person. Now this person is now making less money, taking home less money, so they can't afford to do the things that they used to afford. So now they're going to be dependent on who? Government to provide for them. Guess who gets bigger? Government. Guess who gets more money? Not you, government. Guess who gets to determine your destiny? Not you, government. That is why we have a declining economic freedom score. Bigger government, higher government spending, more subsidies equals less economic freedom for you and me. But if you are wealthy enough, maybe that's why, well, it's not maybe, it's absolutely why, you have all these very wealthy Democrats who say the rich need to pay more in a higher rate of taxes, knowing all the while that the rich really aren't, and Felicia just confirmed it, the rich are going to know, or know people who know, how to plan their income and their tax strategy so they pay as little as possible. All the while saying, well, I have a higher rate. Yes, you do. And everybody at the bottom end of the economic scale is going to see they have a higher rate, so they're going to take more money from them. Sure, if that wealthy person didn't have the wherewithal to have a tax plan to pay as little as possible. Understand, corporations are the same way. How do you think that these wealthy people and big corporations, including Apple, are able to pay less income taxes than somebody earning $50,000 a year? And they do it legally. It's not a loophole. There's no such thing as a loophole. All that, the tax code is on purpose. It's all put there on purpose. There is no loophole. You say loophole and you've been sold a bill of goods and you bought it. Well, we got to close the tax loopholes. The problem with tax loopholes is there aren't any. The tax code has been built upon, and it has purposefully been built upon over and over again since it was first incepted back in the early, since its first inception back in the early 1900s. There are no loopholes. All the tax deductions that are out there were put in there on purpose. They were put in there because the people who were formulating the tax code realized, hey, I got a lot of money. I want people to think that we're actually paying more, but if we put in these deductions that only people like me will be able to take, then I will pay less. It's done on purpose. There are no loopholes. They were put there on purpose. When are you people on the left going to understand that? While they're fostering this notion of class warfare, they're secretly keeping more of their own money, getting richer and richer and richer. And nothing that Bernie Sanders has proposed is going to change that, except for the fact that those on the lower end of the economic run are going to get poorer and poorer and poorer. And then in 4 and 8 years, you're going to come back and say, well, we need to have higher taxes and more government services and more government services because you can't afford anything. Meanwhile, the rich that you're trying to punish for being successful, they're getting richer and richer and richer. And believe it or not, there's nothing in the Bernie Sanders economic plan and tax plan that is going to change that. Now, I don't know if I've said this before, but if we're going to have an income tax, and I don't think we should have an income tax, but if we're going to have an income tax, I believe a flat income tax all across the board from $1 with no deductions is the fair and right way to go. And frankly, I believe that if God says in the tithe that all he wants is 10%, I don't believe government needs more than 10% of your income. So in other words, you earn $1, you give the government 10 cents, you keep 90. That's fair. If you earn $100, well, that means what? 10%? You're going to keep $90, the government gets 10. See how you're paying more money than the person who earns $1? That's fair. Folks, I don't know. Look, we got a government that just wants to take, and give out and give out and give out, not protect us, at all. Decimate our military, cut back our border security, let illegals cross over without trying to really round them up or keep them from coming in. And you're going to tell me that Bernie and Hillary are the way to go, or moderates like Jeb are the way to go. Look, folks, the joke is going to be on you. I guarantee you they're going to come out with a pill or a program, and they're going to make it affordable for everyone, a whole health system that is going to allow you to live like you're 50 years old at the age of 100, and everybody's going to want to live longer. And you are. But the problem with living longer is you're going to realize the mistakes that you're making now. And it is not going to be fun. It is not going to be pretty. It is not going to be easy. And if you keep electing these types of people, they're going to rip you off penny by penny by penny until you open up your wallet or until you look at your paycheck and realize you have nothing left. We're going to be worse than Finland that has a marginal tax rate of 70 to 75%. How would you like to make $100 and only keep $20 or $25? Is that fair? No, that's not fair. This is what people are trying to say on the left. And they think only Trump can reverse it? No. You got Rush and Hannity up next. Right now, I'm about to get out of here. This has been the Rod Eccles Show. I'm Rod Eccles. I'm out.